Alright, so picture this. The Viltrumite War still happens. Same stakes, same brutal empire, same goal of domination. But one thing changes everything. Mark Grayson does not grow into the version of himself that fights against the Empire. Instead, he becomes Emperor Mark early, cold, calculated, focused. He does not hesitate, he does not question, he leads. And not just leads, he becomes the face of the Viltrumite war effort. From the start, this flips the entire power structure, because now the Viltrumites are not relying only on raw strength or tradition. They have strategy, adaptability, and something they lacked before. A leader who understands both Viltrumite brutality and human unpredictability. The first major shift happens before the war even fully begins. Normally, Viltrumites operate on pride. They rush, they conquer, they overpower. But Emperor Mark changes that. He studies Earth's defenses. He studies heroes like Omni-Man and Thrag. He sees their flaws, he sees their arrogance, and he removes it from the equation. Under his command, Viltrumite forces stop acting like conquerors and start acting like soldiers. Coordinated attacks, timed invasions, precision strikes. Entire planets fall faster because they are no longer being toyed with. They are being erased with intent. Now let's talk about Thrag. In the original timeline, Thrag is the strongest. He commands through fear and dominance. But with Emperor Mark leading, there is tension. Not open rebellion, but friction. Thrag respects strength, Mark has it. But Mark also has vision, and that is something Thrag lacks. At first, Thrag allows Mark to lead campaigns because the results speak for themselves. Planets fall in half the time. Resistance gets crushed before it can form. But slowly, Mark starts gaining loyalty. Not through fear, through results. Viltrumites begin to follow him not because they're forced to, but because they see victory. And in a warrior race, victory is everything. This creates a split. Not a civil war yet, but a shift in power. Now bring in the coalition of planets. Led by figures like Alan the Alien, they expect the usual Viltrumite approach. Direct fights, overconfidence, predictable destruction. But instead, they face something different. Their supply lines get cut. Their communication gets disrupted. Their strongest fighters get isolated and eliminated one by one. Emperor Mark does not fight fair. He fights to win. Alan becomes one of the first major targets. Mark knows Alan's growth potential. He knows if Alan is allowed to keep evolving, he becomes a serious threat. So instead of waiting, Mark sets a trap. A coordinated ambush with multiple Viltrumites striking at once. Alan survives, barely, but he is taken out of the war for a long time. That alone shifts the balance heavily in favor of the Viltrumites. Now Earth. Earth becomes the emotional core of this war. Because this is where Mark's dual identity matters most. The heroes expect Mark to be their ally. They believe there is still humanity in him. That hesitation costs them. When the Viltrumite invasion of Earth begins under Mark's command, it is not chaotic. It is surgical. Key targets get eliminated first. Communication hubs, power grids, defensive leaders. Heroes like the Guardians of the Globe get wiped out in coordinated strikes instead of drawn-out battles. Mark leads from the front, but he does not get distracted. He assigns roles, he executes plans, and he finishes objectives. Omni-Man becomes a major turning point. Because now Nolan has to face the version of his son he feared. Not weak, not conflicted, fully committed to the Empire. Their fight is not just physical. It is ideological. Nolan tries to reach him. He talks about choice, about breaking free. But Emperor Mark shuts it down, not with emotion, with logic. He sees Nolan as flawed, a soldier who hesitated. And in a war like this, hesitation equals death. Their fight is brutal, more brutal than anything we have seen before. And this time, Mark wins. Not because he is stronger at the start, but because he fights smarter. He adapts mid-fight. He learns Nolan's patterns. He exploits them. And when Nolan falls, it sends a message across the galaxy. The Viltrumites are no longer just a force. They are led by someone who can surpass even their best. After Nolan's defeat, morale across the coalition drops hard. Earth becomes a staging ground for further expansion. But here is where things get even more intense. Thrag starts to see Mark as a threat. Not to the war, but to his authority. Because now the Viltrumites are winning faster under Mark than they ever did under Thrag. And warriors respect results. So Thrag challenges Mark. Not openly at first. He tests him, sends him on impossible missions, puts him in situations where failure is likely. But Mark succeeds every time. And each success pulls more loyalty toward him. Eventually, it becomes unavoidable. A direct confrontation between Thrag and Emperor Mark. This fight is not just about strength. It is about leadership, the old way versus the new way. Thrag fights with raw power and experience. Mark fights with precision and adaptability. The battle is long. It pushes both of them to their limits. But the key difference is mindset. Thrag believes strength alone decides victory. Mark knows better. He uses the environment, he uses timing, he uses every advantage he can find, and in the end, he wins. Thrag falls. And with that, Emperor Mark becomes the undisputed leader of the Viltrumites. Now the war shifts into its final phase. With unified command, the Viltrumites become unstoppable. Entire systems fall in sequence. The coalition cannot keep up. Their strategies fail because Mark predicts them. Their strongest fighters get targeted before they can act. Even Alan, after recovering, finds himself outmatched in both strength and planning. The war does not drag on. It ends faster. And it ends decisively. The Viltrumites win. But here is the part that changes everything going forward. Emperor Mark does not rule like Thrag. He does not rely only on fear. He builds structure. He enforces order. Planets under Viltrumite control do not get destroyed for sport. They get integrated, controlled, optimized. This creates a more stable empire, but it also creates a more dangerous one, because now rebellion becomes harder. People are not just fighting oppression, they are fighting a system that works. And at the center of it all is Mark, a leader who understands both sides, a leader who chose power over compassion, and never looked back.